Brett, you are ranked the fifth mid-am in the country by amateurgolf.com. During a normal semester, how many times a week do you actually touch a club?
It ebbs and flows. If I've got a tournament coming up, I try to touch it 3 to 4 times a week. If I don't have anything within the next month, it's non-existent.
Hmm.
Um, Balancing it usually equates about teaching 300 students in a normal semester between fall or spring. So responding to emails, prepping for the courses that I teach, taking care of two little girls at home. Golf is few and far between, but if I am trying to prep for a tournament, it's 3 to 4 times a week typically at a minimum, just to try to stay sharp going into it.
When you reference kind of going into a tournament, let's walk through, say, the 2024 Mississippi Mid-Am, if we can call back to that. What
Yeah.
was your prep leading into that?
That one in particular, I had not played in 4 weeks until the first round of the tournament. That it's an aberration. And I was sick as a dog that first round and woke up and was like, I got really nothing to lose. I had just played bad at the US Mid Am and just went out there with, let's just go hit shots, try to put the ball in the hole. And it's funny how that usually works out. I shot 7 under that first round and I was, I was bogey free through like 45 holes. And I had a dumb three putt on like my sixth or seventh hole of that final round. But long story short, I ended up playing phenomenal golf, and it's just funny how like I don't. You hate to call it mental reps because that sounds so cliche, but trying to think about all right, what did I do wrong at the U.S. Mid Am a couple of weeks prior to that? How can I correct that? And without going to the range, without putting anything, it just translated to better golf. Just thinking about how I could improve, and that's something that I never did in college. Like taking a step back and really thinking about how can I put the ball in the hole quicker instead of like technique wise, how can I get better?
Yeah. Well, and for you, like we were talking about, you're a professor, you've got this busy schedule, you got a family at home. Uh, we're coming up on a fall semester. Let's kind of fast forward here to maybe say late September, right? We're still in the throes of golf season, but you've got a lot going on at work. What does like a
Mm-hmm.
normal Tuesday look like during the school year when there are still tournaments going on? 89% of you are not subscribed to the channel. And if you subscribe, that means that more people who are just like you are going to find the channel. So do them a favor and go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below.
Yeah. Tuesday, Thursday are my really busy days. So I start teaching at 9:30 and it's back to back sections of about a little bit over 100 students. And then I've got an afternoon class that starts at 3. And those are my teaching days. And then I'll have office hours Monday, Wednesday, Friday. But Tuesday, I'm teaching all the way until 4:30. I'll have some office hours for my upper level class after that, and that takes me till about 5 p.m. Then I'll go back and either pick the girls up if my wife wasn't able to after work, or if she was able to, go back, cook some dinner, and put the girls down to bed. But golf is certainly secondary. If I am going to play, Fridays is generally fairly open. Um, it just kind of depends on the departmental events going on and things like that. But yeah, Tuesday, Thursday, at least for me, are really really busy.
Yeah. Well, let's go back a few years before you were a professor. You were also playing college golf at Middle Tennessee State, where, as you and I both know, golf's your whole job when you're playing college sports. What did a practice week look like then, just from a time perspective?
Um, I would usually get to the golf course about 10 a.m. and that was always my time. Like I was never going to get there at 7:30 because I did enjoy the sleep, but to get there about 10, and I would honestly stay until dark. You and I talked a little bit before. You were a range rat. I was a range rat to say the least. I always had the mentality of like I was never going to let anybody outwork me as far as staying there and just beating balls, putting over and over and over again. And that's awesome. That's an awesome mentality for anybody to have. Like you've got to work hard to be successful, but you have to be cognizant of what are you working on? Are you actually getting better? Golf is so skill based and not necessarily technique. Like you do have to have a sound technique, but and my coach Charlie King that I had since I was 15, like he would always preach that. And maybe it's just me being young and naive. Like it might go one ear and out the other. He was always encouraging me to, hit side hill lie shots because it's very rare to get a flat lie out there unless you're teeing off on a par three. But all I would do in college is just 300 balls a day minimum. Sun up, not sun up, 10 a.m. to 6:37 at night, putt hours on end. I was very good about doing distance wedges. That has always been a skill of mine that never really faded. Um, but as far as being skillful, having a shot to put in play, um, having a shot to go to going into a tough par four long iron wise, like I never truly developed that. And I was just probably focusing more so on having the perfect swing throughout college. And now that's changed as a mid am, just with more limited time.
And I feel like I'm hearing a mirror talk right now, like truly. Like that's distance
Yeah.
wedges. That's what that was like the only random practice I had. Right. Like that's
Mhm.
I feel like you're talking like I'm talking to me right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was all, you hear certain guys use a different system. I was always a clock system guy, like left arm going back to 9 o'clock, whatever you want to think about. And like that's 60 yards for a 60 degree or 70 yards, 80 yards for a 56. And that's always remained fairly ingrained. But, heck, I would have a different feel on the driving range from one day to the next, like judging based on what swing I saw on YouTube or the swing that I saw on the PGA Tour. Um, and I don't know, like you and I are fairly close in age. Like growing up watching Tiger Woods, the way he got better was totally revamping his golf swing. And maybe that gave me the misconception of like, that's how I get better too, having a perfect golf swing, revamping whatever I was doing after a bad tournament, you name it. And you just end up chasing your tail after a while. That is just not the way to get better.
Yeah. Well, looking back, I mean, I guess we're both talking kind of the same thing. We spent a lot of time there. Maybe looking back, it wasn't super optimal. The good news is you and I both have less time now. And I know for
Mhm.
me, I'm playing the best golf of my life. I don't know about you if you would say something similar, but obviously those two things don't necessarily sound like they should be true. Like I have less time now, but I'm playing better. When did that flip and why do you think it flipped? If you're listening to this and wondering, what am I supposed to do with this information? I put all of that into one PDF that you can grab down below that's insights from every single mid-am that we've interviewed. Tell me where to send it. Now back to the conversation.
That in itself might be a pretty long story. My last year of college, like I struggled so bad mentally. Like you grow up, you play the game, you play your whole life. Like you want to go play professionally, and I was struggling so bad mentally. Like I couldn't even sleep at night going to these tournaments. Um, and some things happened. I went back to school, got an accounting degree. Um, I had some injuries, things like that. You just end up taking enough time away from it to kind of reflect on why you started playing the game in the first place. I mean, you hear guys say it all the time, but I have more fun playing golf now than I ever have in my life. I'm at least going back to whenever I was 12, 13 years old. It probably didn't really flip until about 4 years ago. Um, I hadn't played a tournament in 5 or so years, just between working and pursuing a PhD, things like that. And it gave me an appreciation of it was the 2022 U.S. Amateur at Ridgewood. It gave me an appreciation for being back in that type of tournament, that type of setting. It's so hard to qualify for those things. My dad was on the bag. At the end of the day, I probably placed a lot of my self worth on like how somebody viewed my score, how I viewed myself based on my score, and that's just who cares. Like if I play good, I don't care how anybody thinks about me. If I play bad, I don't care. Um, I would say it's been about 4 years now where I've truly been free in that sense. Just going out there, enjoying golf for what it is. It's a game, and if I play good, awesome. If I play bad, nobody's going to remember anyway. Who cares?
Exactly. I think the Ryan Fox was on the shotgun start right after. I don't know if you listened to them right after his win
Yeah.
and talked about how he told his kids like, "I'm bringing a trophy home," all that good stuff. They looked at it for like five
Hmm.
minutes and they were back to watching Bluey. Like, yeah, man,
You're,
that's
yeah,
like,
exactly.
and for you, like,
Exactly.
especially, at the end of the day, you could go win the US Mid-Am or the USAM this year, and yeah, girls are gonna be super proud of you and super excited, but at the
Yeah.
end of the day, like, you're still their dad, and it kinda goes back to what Nate Gottman talks about,
Hmm.
the identity over outcome, focusing more on becoming the right person as opposed to trying to chase these outcomes because those outcomes are only temporary. What
Yeah.
what was the moment that you or was there a moment where you knew something had to change when it came to how you were looking at yourself?
Um, it was a very long process as far as that goes. I thought I was completely done with competitive golf after my senior year of college. I wanted to play in some things here and there because it's always been a part of who I was. But it was a long process to, and it wasn't even like an active pursuit. It was just almost like time heals all wounds type of thing.
Mm,
Because like 2017, that was technically my first year as a mid am. I qualified for the USM that year, and somebody can go look at the results. You don't want to see what I shot, but I was still struggling with what I did my senior year, and I broke my leg a couple years after that. Like, was sitting in a recliner for 4 months, just contemplating life, and I was about to start my PhD. It's like you go through that type of stuff. It's like, you know what? Who cares?
yeah,
You put a ball in the hole, and you try to put the ball out there somewhere in front of you. You find it, and you put it somewhere on the green. If the putt goes in, phenomenal. If it doesn't matter. And it was a sequence of events like that. Being away from it so long, by the time I got back into it, it was like, you know what? I'm just going to go into this and play with instinct instead of trying to focus so much on technique. And I think the athleticism, the skill started to come back slowly. And, I was fortunate to qualify for that 2022 US Amateur, and I've started to play a little bit more since then, just because that really ignited my love for the game again.
mm. When you say love for the game, what do you feel like golf or you get out of golf or golf gives you now that it wasn't back during college or right after college?
Honestly, man, it's just it's being out there playing with friends, enjoying the beauty of the golf courses that you get to play with a lot of these tournaments. Playing Mississippi stuff, for me, since I live there now, you see the same guys week in and week out, and it's almost not the time away from the golf course because the time on the golf course is phenomenal. Um, Man, I just get pleasure out of hitting a good golf shot. And if I hit the last one bad, I know that one's coming soon that's going to be on the screws, and I look forward to that. I think it's just so much more simplistic than it was back in college. Like if I hit one good drive, then maybe subconsciously you might think the next one's going to be offline, that type of thing. Because you start forcing it down the fairway, things like that. And now it's just like, you know what, I'm just gonna hit this one down the fairway. I'm gonna hit the next one down the fairway. Um, if your identity's not attached to every single shot, it's funny how that works. Like you just
Yeah.
keep doing it. But yeah, it's been more of a process than like a cognizant pursuit of letting go of that stuff. Just a sequence of
Mm.
events and time kind of healing the things that happened my last year of college. It was tough. It was tough.
I had a very similar experience, and so I've talked to a lot of people and college coaches and all that about how I don't know if it's possible to avoid that completely as a collegiate athlete
Mm-hmm.
because it is your entire job, no matter what level you're playing at. It could be you could be top of your game in Division One. You could be just starting out in JUCO. Like I think everywhere in between. If it is what you're at school for to a degree, it's really hard to avoid that. But if we had, let's say we had the Cedarville men's golf team sitting here with us and we were talking to them about it, what would you kind of guide them towards to allow them to kind of free themselves up on the golf course?
It'd be a very similar conversation to the students I have, or the conversations I have with my students now on accounting, which sounds crazy, but golf is so hard. It is also at the same time extremely fun. You get one shot, it keeps you coming back. the percentage of people that make it to the PGA Tour is so slim, it's going to sound pessimistic in that regard, but for you to be playing at a college level is an extreme blessing. It goes by so quick. Please, please try to enjoy it instead of making it a job. And like you said, looking back now, like you have all the time in the world to do nothing but practice. And yes, you're taking classes, things like that. But like you can, for the most part, if somebody's responsible, you can practice all day and then knock out your studies at night. You have to focus on, it's such an individualistic game. Like what you're working on may not be the thing that the guy next to you is working on. Like you might need to put the ball in play, the other guy might need to hit wedges. Um, your swing doesn't have to change. Like God gave you the ability to swing it the exact same way that you're swinging it right now. It's so idiosyncratic, and take pride in that and hone it. Tom Lehman had a great quote one time. It's like, if your swing is good enough to hit one perfect shot per round, your swing is good enough to hit a lot of perfect shots per round.
Mhm.
It's just a matter of figuring out that feel, that setup, that grip, that feeling that triggered that golf shot. Um, I would just say enjoy the process. And look, nobody remembers what I did my last year of college. Nobody remembers what I did the 3 years before that. Which I mean may not be entirely true, but at the end of the day, it is true. Like 30 years from now, nobody's gonna care. So just enjoy the ride.
Yeah. I could not agree more. I think golf can go from something that kind of mentally breaks you a little bit to something that keeps you level, like as you go through kind of what we've gone through. And somewhere in the middle there, we both got better, which is really exciting. So let's
Yeah.
walk through that now. Like we were talking a little bit about the time allocation. Now, in a normal week where you do get to get some reps in, you were talking about touching the club 3 to 4 times per week. What does that look like? Is that reps at home? Is that reps at a golf course where we playing, or are you going to the range? There are currently 43 people paying for Play Ready Golf, which means that there are 43 people that get better every single time that they go to practice because their plan is built around their time, the facilities they have, and the skill level that they're currently at. If you want to be one of those people getting better every time you go to practice, you can hit the link down below. You can use code PRGPOD to get $20 off every single year for the rest of ever. Go ahead and hit that link down below and get your 7 free days.
If it's leading up to a tournament, it's there's a place just down from our house that actually has TrackMan indoors, and this is something that I just started implementing since like January. Just because the times that I played poorly, like I might lay it up to 70, 80 yards, and these tuck pins that you get in USGA events, if you're off 5 yards, you might fly it in the back bunker, fly it short in the front bunker, and you're plugged. You may end up making double, and you were perfect 2 shots ago. So it's just stupid stuff like that was costing me. And I was like, you know what? I got to address that. So a lot of my prep literally was just hitting a bunch of distance wedges into a TrackMan. The year before that, I got caught up in the speed training stuff, which I do think is fantastic. Like it's a quick way to get better for anybody.
Yeah.
But I transitioned a little bit more away from that to just focusing on the scoring clubs. And if I'm not hitting balls at the range that I play at, I'm at least going out and putting. And I have this board that I get on chalk line, things like that, making sure the fundamentals are sharp. But one thing that I was not doing last year, really like almost ever, was a lot of lag putts.
Mm.
Like not the same putt. Like I'll hit one putt from 30 feet downhill left to right, 20 feet uphill. Well, that's the only way to develop true feel, in my opinion. You've got to hit different putts over and over again, trigger your brain to kind of fill out the speed to a certain target. And that's cut down my 3 putts a lot this entire year. And it paid off. The first few events that I played this year, it paid off. The Snedeker in March, the Giles in May, the State Am in early June. I can look back now and think about some big 2 putts that I had, which if any of my buddies hear this, they heard me say this in another video interview. They're like, oh yeah, Mr. 2 putt over here. So if they hear this, they're going to give me crap about it. But look, I'm perfectly fine with 2 putting from 30 feet down the hill on greens that are running 13, because before I was 3 putting and it was costing me shots. It was costing me tournaments. So you're really just focusing on small things like that.
Yeah. Well, and you teach cost accounting, which there's a lot of allocation there, right? But allocation only happens because you know where things need to be allocated. You've done the research, you understand why things work together. How do you do that? Do you keep stats somewhere? Are you kind of just self-aware enough at this point because you've done it long enough? Kind of walk me through the that process.
Yeah. I mean, I'm certainly not opposed to keeping track of like in-depth stats. I think that's a great resource to have because there are seemingly 1,000 different places to get really, really good information from just logging your rounds. I'm probably just too lazy to do it. So I don't know, it might sound big headed. I guess I'm self aware enough to understand like over time, the times that I was shooting 75 in tournaments, it was the same thing over the last couple of years. It was three putts from I'm like 12, 15 feet, which sounds really, really bad. But USGA type green speeds, you run one by 3.5 feet, and then all of a sudden you're just sweating to death about making the comeback for par because you might waste the hole. Those are the things that I was doing, or just not taking advantage of a scoring club.
Yeah.
Um, Anybody could have been self-aware enough to understand that that was a weakness.
Mm.
And I really tried to address that this offseason instead of, if I have time going out and hitting a bucket of balls with no purpose and just saying that I had some reps that day. I mean, I like making full swings. I like hitting golf shots, but I had to exercise some self-control and just say, you know what, I've got 30, 45 minutes. All I'm going to do is putt. Even if I go into my next tournament and I haven't made a full swing in 2 weeks, I will have more productivity getting my feel down with speed putts, fundamentals with the putter, and I'm going to save more shots that way than just whacking some 8 irons because I can just go make some swings in a mirror and check fundamentals that way. That to me now is more productive than just going out and willy-nilly hitting a bucket and just saying, all right, I did that. I'm going to go home now.
Yeah. Well, I think what's important in there is what's actually going to move your score or not. Right. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's where some people maybe are just getting into the game or got into it, and like my friends did in 2020, it's harder for them to know because they haven't been doing it as long. Or like, did you have to keep stats in
Right.
college? This is a fun one.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess we did. With at that point, it was Golfstat.
Oh yeah, the
So
good old days.
yeah, right. Which the stats back then, like there wasn't. I don't know that strokes gained was a thing on the tour yet. I'm sure it was, but like there was really no way for us to measure that in college. It was fairway set, greens, putts, and I mean all this big statistical guys would probably laugh, but I still do focus on like the simple stats because I'm not a guy that's going to find 40 yards tomorrow. Like I'm never going to find 40 yards. Now I could do some speed training and things like that and maybe find 15 over a year's time. But I also worry about, am I going to put that one tee shot that's super tight? Am I going to put that in play with my new fields? I don't have time to figure that out.
Yeah.
So I know my fields right now, so I'm just going to stick to it. But I can tell you one way I'm going to improve is continue to hammer the wedges and hammer the putter. And that's going to capitalize and keep me sharp and at least keep me competitive in high level events. But yeah, back then it was just Golfstat, like
Yeah.
log your putts, log your fairways, log your greens, and that was it.
Man, Golfstat was not to say anything bad about the current platforms, but man, Golfstat, like logging on during class. I remember sitting in the back of class and trying to find like the weirdest names of people who were playing that
Yeah,
week. It was like the
yeah,
Golfstat was just the best. It was so
it
easy to
was the best, man.
navigate. It was
It feels nostalgic.
it really does. It's
Like I
it's
was
some good
looking up.
stuff.
I try to keep up with Ole Miss, the golf team.
Mhm.
I know a few of the guys, and I looked up one of their tournaments. This was probably 2 years ago. At that point, they'd already gone to Clipped. I think it's the new
Mm.
platform. I typed in their tournament name, or I think it was just me Googling Golfstat, and like nothing came up. I'm like, what the heck? I'm like, where did Golfstat go? Like, how do we get rid of Golfstat?
I know.
So we got to. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But I mean, it seems like Clip does a darn good job. But still, like keep it around for nostalgia's sake.
Yeah, the transition period was weird because like I had just gotten out of college when that was all transitioning. But like some tournaments still wanted to use Golfstat, but some wanted to use Clipped. But the NCAA wanted stuff in Clipped. It was this whole weird
Really?
mess. Yeah, not to get too much into the college golf
Yeah.
scene, but it was a and there's Leaderboard King now too. I don't know if you've seen those ones. Those are brutal. It's like maybe the
Are they?
worst platform ever. You guys need to get your stuff together. Uh,
Yeah. We need to start a petition to bring Golfstat back. But
oh
they did
man,
it pretty
maybe
pretty
that's our
good.
next business idea. Bring back
Yeah,
Golfstat.
that's right.
That's the
Start
platform
a
we're gonna
movement.
build on.
Love it.
That's great. I mean, like I still get PTSD of like getting the late night text after a 36 hole day. Like, guys, make sure remember put your stats in. Like, oh
Yeah, right. Yeah, let me
gosh.
just
Okay.
try to guess what I just did real quick. Get it
Yeah.
in, get it over with.
Cool. We just played in 40-degree weather in Kentucky in March. I think that might be a tomorrow task.
Yeah.
I'm focusing on thawing currently.
It's like, how much can we get out of just playing in miserable weather? Like, it's
Yes.
just kind of a wash.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Man, that's great. Um, so we talked about kind of what to do on the range. What are the biggest mistakes that you see when you're maybe just going and playing a weekend game, or you're at the range, you're at the putting green, you see people whacking putts? What are some things people can avoid?
Um, that's a great question. It seems to me like most people, well, a weakness I would say is people focusing too much on swing positions rather than just swing fundamentals.
Mm,
Um, your typical put your rods, your clubs down for alignment, grip. I mean, you see Scotty Scheffler doing that. I mean, the guy's played better than anybody over the last 4 or 5 years. And that guy is obsessive about his grip. So nowadays I obsess about it. Before I was probably going to go to a mirror or look at my swing on a camera and make sure that club is absolutely perfect at the top. I don't care anymore.
mm,
Um, so I think that's the case for anybody. I don't care how you swing the club. If your fundamentals are off, something's going to go awry and you're not going to be repetitive.
yeah.
And if you are trying to work on a feel, like you need to do it in slow motion. If I see somebody trying to work on, I don't know, you name the move they're trying to make in their swing, like they're doing it full blast just because swinging full blast is the hot commodity nowadays. Um, and Ben Hogan used to talk about it all the time. Like that guy would practice 50% or more just swinging in slow motion, like super slow motion, just to train his body to have a certain feel. So if you are going to change your technique, do it in slow motion. Because I think even if I'm not able to hit balls, like doing something indoors in slow motion into a mirror, I get more aware of a feeling I'm trying to have that way than if I'm trying to do it at full speed on the range.
Mm,
And again, kind of going back to college, you might end up chasing your tail for a little bit, not really gaining that change in technique by doing it at full speed. So I do think you have to ingrain it at a slower speed. So I'd first say fundamentals, ball position, alignment, grip, all that. And then if you do need to change technique, do it in slow motion first. Make sure you nail it down at a slow pace versus a fast pace.
mm. That's all. Yeah. I mean that practice time is so important, and doing it deliberately is really important. And then you get
Mm-hmm.
on the course, and you've been quoted as saying you're never the most talented guy in the field, but clearly you've come out on top. So at some point, what separates you from the field?
That's also a good question. So I mentioned last year I was doing the stack system, and it works. Like no free ads. Like they don't obviously endorse me to say anything about it. It's phenomenal. They do a great job.
Yes.
But I realize, somebody at the mid am level, right, is Bobby Massa that just absolutely mashes the ball. I played him in a mid am match at Sleepy in 2023. The guy was 60, 70 yards ahead of me. Like, no joke. Like, I'm never going to beat that guy, ever. But if you are going to compete at a high level in a tournament, I realized early this year I've got to have an advantage in some part of the game that offsets somebody's distance potentially.
Mm,
So that's why I started focusing more on distance wedges and putting, because I knew that that was going to lead to bigger gains. Because more reps really does equate to better distance wedge play. Like you get a feel pretty darn quick. You're not necessarily worried about hitting it on line from 80 yards because you're going to most of the time, but you can get the distance down pretty darn fast. So I would say focusing on skills that I know that I have, 9 iron and down and putter, getting the ball in play repetitively. Um, that's kept me around the top in these first 4 or 5 events that I've played. I mean, outside of the Southern, I finished like 46, but um, focusing more so on that than
mm,
trying to compare myself to somebody that is playing a completely different ball game if they're 60, 70 yards ahead of me. I can't do that. I can't change that overnight, but I can work on the things that I can't control.
yeah, absolutely. Well, and to transition into actively comparing yourself to others, what
Yeah.
there's a lot of really good scratch players, right? Like there's a difference between a good scratch player and a really elite mid am, and I would put you obviously in the really elite mid am category. I know you wouldn't, but like you just are. What's
Thanks.
one thing or two things that you maybe understand about scoring or getting the ball in the hole as fast as possible that scratch golfer might not understand?
It doesn't have to be as glamorous as you think it needs to be. If you come across a tee shot that you're not comfortable with, or I mean, I could go down the list, just get something in play. And it's so easy to get caught up. I mean, I keep going back to it and like hitting the ball far, like that is phenomenal. And I'm not denying the stats that say that is the quickest way to get better. But you have got to have a repetitive go to shot. I don't care what it is, if that's a 30-yard slice, if it is a 2 yard draw, get the ball in play. Um, and I mean, there's been some college guys and some other amateurs that might have been struggling off the tee, and I'm like, dude, tee that ball a half inch off the ground and just get it out there. I don't care if that ends up going 270. If you're 40 yards behind somebody, it doesn't matter. Like if you hit it 310 into the woods, who cares? It's all about getting the ball in the hole as quick as possible, and then finding holes that might suit your skill set a little bit more throughout the 18 hole round. Um, I don't know. It's hard to say. Like
Mm.
scratch players are obviously very good. I mean, a lot of it does just kind of come down to experience that they just simply might not have yet. But again, it's eliminating this really, really small things that add up. 3 putts, bogeys on par fives, um, bogeys within 150 yards. I forget the big five that Tiger always kept track of, but I know one of them was bogeys on par fives. Like he would
Yeah.
dock himself a point on whatever he was keeping track of. And it's like, I look back at last year's times that I played poorly and the year before that, and it was like, you know what? I'm costing myself a tournament by having made a bogey on a par five when I went for the green and wasn't necessarily confident about it. And again, stats guys say always go for the green because it pays off. But if you hill wipe a 3 wood into a bunker that's 40 yards short, you're closer to the pin. But I never practiced 40-yard bunker shots, so I want to lay up to 100 yards where I know that I have a pretty darn good feeling of hitting it to 15, 18 feet and
Yeah.
giving myself a chance. If I hit it in the bunker 40 yards out, I'm probably making bogey. Just I never hit that shot. So you do have to feel it out.
Well, there's obviously a difference
Play your
between
game. Yeah.
championship golf and just like weekend golf, right? Like I posted a reel recently about getting it as like statistically getting the ball as close to the hole as possible, not trying to like lay back to a perfect number, is typically
Yeah.
going to work out. Mike Smith, who runs for college golf, I don't know if you know him, um, really great guy. Came on the program. Uh, DM me and he was like, "Hey man, I agree with this to an extent, but when you're playing in like high tournament conditions, maybe it's really firm, it's a thin green, they put the pin in really tucked, like then it's good to have a longer shot." Couldn't agree more, right? But there's a huge
Yeah.
difference, obviously, between like, some 10 handicap playing on the weekend at a dead flat course being like,
Right.
I got to lay back to 80 because that's my full 60 degrees. Like, man, just shove that thing up there and get one on the green. Like, let's just,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
got to give yourself a good chance to get it on. So, but to your point, like with the trying to hit the green into, right? Like sometimes there's a confidence aspect in there too. And that's part of understanding yourself, which you've clearly put the work in to do so. I think that's, yeah, the whole core strategy thing is so interesting because it's easy to put blanket statements out and then only follow those. And then you can kind of like accidentally screw yourself if you
Yeah.
don't understand your game or if you're not willing to just like back off if you're not confident, which clearly Tiger was
Hmm.
the king of the pump fake.
Yeah.
Um,
Exactly.
well, speaking of like blanket advice, what's one piece of standard golf advice that you think actively hurts amateurs?
Uh, I mean, at least one from whenever I was growing up is swing easy.
Mm,
Like, I'm gonna sound like I'm contradicting myself, but like whenever I have struggled off the tee, it's like, oh, you're getting too quick at the top. Um, and maybe it's a technology thing. I don't know, but I think more than anything, it's like it's biomechanics. You're training your brain to not be afraid of missing the target whenever you swing hard.
yeah.
So I would encourage anybody like swing hard. Like this is coming from a guy that hits it short by today's standards, like 295, 300. Um, I found that the harder I swing, probably the straighter I hit it. And in college, for a while, it was let me just try to guide one out there and make sure my tempo is absolutely perfect, make sure my grip pressure is perfect. Um, that'd be my biggest piece of advice there. It's hard to really think of any other misconceptions. I mean, there is so many of them out there, but
Yeah.
I would say right off the top, that's probably my go-to.
When it comes to kind of choosing confidence, getting up there and training yourself for confidence, you obviously in the Snedeker were in a playoff. When when you're standing over a putt to win a tournament, or you're standing over a long putt towards the end of a tournament that you have to two putt to continue this thing,
Mm.
what's going through your head? Are you sticking to your process? Are you trying to lean back on old memories? Kind of walk me through your process of choosing confidence.
It's both of those things you mentioned actually. I forget who I heard talk about it, but one thing I've tried to be very cognizant of is like think of putts that I've made of a certain distance and like see that in my head when I'm standing over it. Because I think it ended up taking your mind off of like, what if I don't two putt? What if I don't make it? Because you're just focusing on that visual. But yes, it is the process, and it is focusing on past success because you've got to tell yourself you've done it before. Because it's so easy to lose sight of that, and it's so easy to focus on the what if in a high pressure situation like that.
Mm.
So you do have to rely on past success. Um, Actively think about a putt that you've succeeded on or a shot that you've hit well in a tough situation. If you've done it once, you can do it again.
Do you think that mentality is what allows you to play well after big break? Like we talked about, you took like 4 weeks off before the Mississippi Mid Am
Mm-hmm.
or the 2023 U.S. Mid Am. You had a 5-week-old
Yeah.
and you beat the
Yeah.
stroke play medalist. Like, there's no way how for somebody who's never even contemplated doing some of this mental stuff, right? Like it can feel pretty overwhelming or feel pretty high level. What would be something you would tell them? Like, what's the first step to being able to get these mental reps where maybe you take some time off and you're still sharp?
Yeah. More than anything, it really is visualization, which heck, 10, 11 years ago, I probably would have laughed at because it just seemed like positive self talk type of thing. But there really is a lot of power in it. If you go up there worrying about hitting it left, hitting it right, don't hit it here, don't hit it there, I think inevitably it might end up happening. Um, so you just have to constantly remember the good shots that you've hit. We've done it for so long at this point. most of us, right? Our body knows how to hit a good golf shot.
Mm.
So even if you take 4 weeks off, like it's not like you're trying to relearn the game again. But I do think it provides a sense of freshness and focusing on the things that matter. Um, I do think the body instinctually just responds to a certain shot that you have hit in the past. So I'll just go back to thinking about specific shots, like even if it is the same one over and over again, or maybe it's a positive iron shot over a drive, like just having some sense of positivity going into it over a tight tee shot like that, it does make a world of difference.
Mm. That's awesome. Well, but before we close, like I kind of teased in our little preview talk,
Yeah.
I want to talk a little reinstatement because you've been playing the mid-am game. You've been playing against a lot of people who turn professional. You chose not to turn professional, and I know
Yeah.
once again, it would probably you obviously know that you made the right choice in staying amateur. It was great for your mental health.
Sure.
You fell back in love with it. You probably would have spiraled, right? Like if you had stayed
Mm. Oh, yeah,
continuing to
for
play
sure.
golf as a job, right?
Yeah.
But from a reinstatement perspective, I want to look ahead to the US Mid-Am, which is coming up here in about 2 months, and I'll hopefully see you out there in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
This is going to be a big topic of discussion. I'm
Mm-hmm.
curious if you've had other conversations with mid-ams about it. And then in terms of like, we don't need to take a stance on it. I think it's pretty clear. Like the USGA has its policies, people get to utilize
Sure.
the policies. It's great. Do you see reinstated mid-am, the pipeline currently? I want to talk about it more through your experience trying to decide if you're going to turn pro or not. What do you think that does to the mentality of a college player who's maybe a fringe player
Yeah.
where they're going into it?
I guess to answer that one first, I do think you would not see a lot of those French players turn pro, which I mean might be bad in itself because I mean there's been a lot of quote unquote fringe players that have gone on and done amazing things in professional golf. Like first one that comes to mind might be Zach Johnson that played at
Yeah.
Drake and 2-time major winner. Look, I don't know his college career in depth, but I just know that came from Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and kind of came out of nowhere to do that. But at the same time, amateur golf is, it's going to sound pretentious. To me, it's sacred.
Yeah.
And there are so many, well, I guess let me preface, there's so many good guys that have turned pro, gone back to the amateur game, and I have nothing against them personally.
Correct.
I would have done the same exact thing. Yes. But I do think it is pretty wild that you've got guys that have legitimately won on the Corn Ferry Tour that, you know what, hey, this isn't working out for me. I just want to go play mid-amateur golf again. And we're playing against them. Their argument would probably be, look, we're dealing with the same things that y'all are, and I totally get that. It's not like they're out there living a professional golfer's life, also playing in mid-amateur events. So it's not like they're as sharp as they were. So I totally understand that. I do think the USGA needs to rethink the extent of time that if you make the decision to turn professional and if you've played on a tour sanctions tour, PGA Tour sanctioned tour, there needs to be quite a period of time before you're able to start doing what you and I are doing.
Yeah.
No offense to them. I just, they made their decision. I made my decision. I wanted to keep pursuing amateur golf. But again, right now as it stands, obviously they're just doing what they're allowed to do. No qualms about that.
Yeah, it's once again, nothing against people who are doing it, like truly. Like Justin Huber, for example, gets a ton of hate online. It's like, man, I don't know what he's doing wrong, right? Other than having like PGA Tour player in his bio, which I'm still kind of like, man, not the world's best taste.
Yeah, I've never met Justin personally, but everybody that talks about him says he's a phenomenal guy. So it's like, all right, maybe find somebody else.
Well, and even then, it's like, totally okay, you find somebody who's like kind of a pain in the butt who did it. It's like, well, they still like, it's not like they gamed the system. Like the USGA has never turned anyone. You want to know a crazy stat? No one's ever been turned away. The USGA is welcome to shoot me an email and prove me wrong on that. but there is
Mhm.
zero reporting about them ever turning someone away from being reinstated, which is
Yeah.
crazy. Like, where's the line then, right? Um,
Yeah, I agree.
so as somebody who's around the finance world, because this is the question I genuinely like truly struggle with the most. And if somebody's listening at this point, they're happy to listen to a couple minutes on this.
Yeah.
At some point, this all kind of like anything that you can't understand from my perspective, there's two things that explain things you can't understand. If it's like a trend and you don't understand it, it's probably kids. If you can't understand some kind of decision in the public arena, it's probably money. But I can't
Yeah.
draw a line between how this financially benefits anybody. I can see how it might benefit some of these higher level tournaments, and then I think we get more mid-am events out of all this. Truly, I think we're going to get some more sick mid-am events. Personally, I think that's going to be the 10-year from now.
Yeah, that's
I think we
fair.
have two
Yeah.
like the Jupiter Invitational is a great example. Awesome tournament. This was its first year, run phenomenally. They did a great job. Multiple people we know played in it and said it was second to none. It was awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool and all, but I still don't know who that financially benefits. Like, what's
Sure.
so genuine little workshop here. I'm curious what your thoughts are there on where this, if this who does this financially benefit? It can't be the USGA unless they're just wanting to collect more fees on people trying to qualify for stuff, but there's still a cap on that.
Beyond that, that's about all that I could think of. And I never thought about the point that you brought up about creating more legit mid amateur events at exclusive places. I will say, just off the top of my head, I mean, I won't name names. The guys that have been like legit tour players that have gotten their amateur status back, it does seem like they're not like too concerned about like chasing wagger points and like
Mm,
being a professional mid amateur. So like Huber, just off the top of my head, like I know he played the Giles and he played awesome at the US Mid Am last year. Like to me, it just seems like he's wanting to play for the love of the game, which is awesome.
yeah,
Like I don't want to keep anybody from doing that. Um, yeah, I mean somebody with his track record, like who wouldn't want to have him or somebody of his caliber at a top level event? I totally agree with that. So monetarily speaking, that's about all I can think of as far as benefiting. USGA gets a little bit more entry fees. Um,
yeah,
and then these exclusive clubs can hang their hat on hosting the best mid amateur players in the world that are eligible by the USGA.
yeah,
And the membership's going to get a kick out of that. Like, who wouldn't? Um, yeah, man, I would have to think about that a little bit more. But
yeah. It's such a
currently,
tough,
that's, yeah,
yeah. It's a tough mental exercise too because it's like, well, do you initiate like a points thing if you're the USGA? But then I think where I'm at right now is it's not that the USGA is making more money because they're allowing people to get reinstated. It's that they're having to invest less because they have less guardrails. Like if you think they have to put a point, for example, I think they should probably
yeah,
put a point system in place. You get X amount of points, and once you reach X amount of points, you have to wait X amount of time, or something along those lines, right? You
sure,
have this many starts, you get to wait this many years. You can still get reinstated. It's just going to take this amount of time, and it's publicly stated knowledge, right?
right.
But if you put all that into place, now you got to have somebody to do that. You got to hire some. But there's
Yeah,
benefits. You got to, now all of a
your
sudden you're
point,
spending.
your point is like it's more of a cost savings thing than
Yeah,
it is like generating money. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, because that would be a lot of work to keep track of, hundreds, if not
yeah,
thousands of guys that are giving it up and wanting to play golf competitively to some extent. Um, I also hate to take the standpoint of like, if you turn pro, like everybody
yeah.
that turned pro, like you're done for 20 years, that type of thing. Because
Because for example, like Nate was a pro for like 9 months. I didn't even know that
really,
information. It wasn't public. Like I
yeah,
couldn't find. That's one of those where it's like, well, yeah, man, like I don't
I
want to dock
know.
you for that. Like that's kind of
I know.
stupid.
Yeah. It seems like most people get hung up on like the caliber of the player
Hmm.
that is getting their amateur status back, which rightfully so. Like, I mean,
But then we
uh,
also get to play the game of like Tron Carter went to Alaska. I don't know if you saw that one. I'm way
yeah,
too deep on Twitter.
I
Like who
did.
get nobody on that leaderboard's from Alaska. What are we like?
No, I know. I was talking to my brother-in-law about that exactly last night, and like I was just like I don't know Tron, but I was like I think he's just going up there to hide if he shoots 82 and doesn't qualify. But that's a conversation for another day.
Yeah. Well, also like in all fairness, like he does seem to kind of be like the travel guy of the group,
Right.
right? So it's like,
Yes.
well, it's kind of
I
it's on
saw they're
brand.
making content out of it, which I'm a
Also,
huge fan of their content. Yeah.
yeah. And if you qualify, you qualify. Like who the guy who qualified was from what? California or Nevada or something like that. Like I don't
I think so. Yeah.
it's like, well,
Yeah.
yeah, well, he wasn't a local. It's not like some guy who was, catching salmon during the summers up there is like,
Yeah. Now that would
like
be a story. You got to
that
have
would
that
be.
guy
We need to. Maybe that'll be my first feature film that we do. Gosh, that's
on.
funny.
Yeah, for
Uh,
sure. I'd watch it. I'd watch it.
yeah, man, the mid-am game's so interesting. Yeah, this has been great, dude. I got a few following questions for you as we close out. Thanks again for your time, dude.
Of
This has been
course.
great. We got pretty introspective right out of the gate, right? And you've got some young daughters, um, and I know that just based on what we were talking about earlier, I'm sure that you've thought about what you've gone through in these past 2 decades, how you want to pass it along to your girls.
Hmm.
Um, you know, for whatever reason, if they're watching this in 10 years, what's something that you want them to take with them as they move out of the house? I know that's a long ways away. We don't want to think about that, but like
Yeah.
as they grow older, go out into the world, what are things that you hope that they take away from you and your wife as you raise them?
Pride yourself on work ethic.
Mhm.
Pride yourself on being, I mean, generic phrase, but being a good person, treating other people with respect. At the end of the day, nobody is going to remember. Nobody's going to care the the accomplishments that you had, but they are going to remember for how you treated them. Um, and just treat every day like that. Like I talked with somebody from the USGA today about the. I was fortunate enough to qualify for the 2011 U.S. Open at
Mhm.
19, and at that point, it was the peak of what I thought I would accomplish, and then hopefully chasing a professional career. And then that kind of went down the toilet. Looking back now, it's funny the people that stop caring about you
Mm.
whenever you are not that successful or what they thought the success you would achieve. So I would say ignore the success, ignore the attention that comes along with that, and just focus on the things that you can control: attitude, work ethic, treating others with respect, being nice to people. Those really are the only things that matters. Golf is a fantastic game. I hope they get into it. It teaches you a lot of life lessons that I'm extremely thankful for. Um, but at the end of the day, like making friends, trying to treat others with respect, that's really all that I care about. If I win a golf tournament, awesome. Like I do get joy out of that. But I've seen the other side of it. I've seen the dark side of it. And I realized a few years out of it, out of competitive golf, that I was just fine without it.
Mm.
My wife loved me the same. My family loved me the same. And getting back into it, playing decent, they treat me the same. The people that
Yeah,
they treat me the same. So that's what I would hope to translate to them and whatever they pursue.
that's great. That's I do need to sprinkle this one in there. I've talked a lot about in previous episodes. The mid-am game is propped up by a bunch of wonderful women. So I want to shout out not only
Yeah,
my wife, but all the mid-am golf wives.
absolutely,
You're the
man.
best. Uh, so
Big shout
speaking of
out.
mid-am golf and travel and all that good stuff, hopefully I'm heading to Wisconsin with you here in about 2 months.
Yes,
You
sir.
got the school year to start. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on in these next 2 months. What does prep look like between now and then?
Um, I do have a bit of downtime. I finished up a summer class, 2 summer classes in July. I was just slammed the last like 30, 40 days. So I am back to practicing a decent amount for me, like 3 or 4 days a week. I'll head to Marion Thursday next week. Play that, and then still just try to stay sharp and ramp up prep the last couple weeks of September leading into it. I mean, that golf course looks just super unique. So
Yeah.
I don't know that I would have the best prep plan for it, but I would imagine, is still trying to get a ball in the hole. So focusing on the same things that I have hopefully translates. But man, I'm more than anything, I'm just excited and honored and blessed to have these next two tournaments coming up, the USM, the US Mid Am, and I'm going to try to have as much fun as possible.
Are you a big explore guy when you go to a new city? Like you're going, if you've been
As
to
far
Philly
as
before, if you're going to Philly
yeah,
before, are you gonna bounce around a little bit, try to see some sights, or are you kind of like let's
um,
keep things quiet?
on the food side, yes. My wife and I will do quite a bit of research as far as food goes. Now, I know Sand Valley is in the absolute middle of nowhere, so that might be a little bit limited. Um, we've actually got an Airbnb booked, and I think we're just going to kind of camp out and do our own thing. We're going to take both of the girls up there and
Nice.
let them run around and all that good stuff. But yeah, if it's a bigger city like Philly, yeah, we're going to try to get out and see some stuff and make the most of it.
That'll be fun. Yeah, I heard USAM last year was a big sightseeing event. Like I
Oh, I
think that
bet. Yeah.
that's yeah, one I didn't even try to qualify for. I would have gotten smoked. But we're hey,
Come on now.
we're on the up and up. We're moving in the right direction.
That's right. That's right.
Well, thanks again, man, for all your time. Obviously, got
Yeah.
USAM coming up. Anything you want to promote? Link down below. You tell me.
No. I mean, I guess while you're giving me the chance, Ole Miss School of Accountancy is building a new accounting building. So if there's any Ole Miss guys out there, or girls, of course, if you want to contribute to the new Jones Hall, right at the mouth of the Grove, is going to be the seminal piece of our university. So still trying to raise money for that. But I do want to
Love
shout
it.
out my employer, University of Mississippi. They've taken great care of me over the last 7 years. They support what I'm doing. I try to make a good name for them, represent them as best as I can. I appreciate everybody that I work alongside, their supports and their encouragement whenever I do play a little bit of golf here and there.
I love it. Well, we'll link that. We will toss on the link down below. I mean, that's not a problem at
Perfect.
all.
Thank you.
Thanks again, Brett. Best of luck these next few months. Hopefully, like I said, I see you up in Wisconsin, and we'll talk soon,
Yes,
man.
sir. All right.